Can you guess what kind of car I bought? So I picked up this 2002 Lexus LX470 for $5,000. Originally, my budget after selling my 4Runner was $3,500 on a next, daily driver. However, I came across this car on Craigslist. I went through its previous owner history, where it came from, the kind of condition it was kept in, and decided to up my budget and spend the money on this beauty. It's 2002 with 216,000 miles, one owner car. Now I guess it's two owners. It's in really, really great shape. There's no rust on the vehicle whatsoever. I'm very happy with it. It's got the 3 rows. It's got the 4.7 V8 that I wanted, and it's such a pleasure to drive. So, how did I pick this up for $5,000? Well, it's a combination of luck as well as the car is not perfect. So there's no history of the timing belt having been done, so that will need to be replaced. And also the globes on the suspension the diaphragms are gone. So what'll happen is, as you're driving down the road and you hit a minor bump, the car will bounce severely. I looked into replacing the globes. All 4 are going to cost me about $1,000, and I'll be able to replace them myself. What I have done is bled the automatic height control fluid out of the car completely. All the old fluid was green and disgusting. Check it out. And that's what it looked like. I bled it 3 to 4 times, and then I added new fluid, hoping that would alleviate the problem. However, the globes are just too far gone. After bleeding them with the new fluid, I still had air bubbles coming out of the vehicle, and that leads me to believe that I'm going to need at least 2 new globes in the front. The rear were okay, but I'm just going to do all 4 and keep the automatic height control on this car. The windshield has a couple of stars in it that I'll be having fixed. Other than that, it's in incredible shape. I did an oil change. I did differential service and the automatic height control. So far, I'm into the car for about $5,300, and that does include my registration. And after I do the suspension and the timing belt, I'm looking at being about $7,500 into this car and having a completely sorted LX470. Now, I'm considering options of doing a just a 2.5-inch heavy load suspension lift. I'm weighing that against the automatic height control. Right now the car is in the high setting, and let's drop it down to the neutral and then low. This would be the neutral setting, and this would be the low. So the suspension system, the hydraulic system works and functions as it should. It's going up and down. It's doing its best to maintain the ride quality. However, the globes are just too far gone, and it just can't cut it. So I'm going to replace it. I'm going to do this car the favor that it so desperately deserves and swap out those globes. Let's look under the engine bay and discuss some things you should look for when checking out one of these vehicles. So first things first with these cars, one thing that usually goes is the hood struts. These 2 on the left and right side of the car. These tend to fail. These are about $20 a piece. So you want to make sure they work. If they don't work, tell the owner, this is a problem and that they need to be replaced. That's one value you can knock down. The brake fluid reservoir is right here. It should read at the max level. Mine is a little bit dirty. It will need to be bled and flushed, which I will do myself. It's not that hard to do on these cars. You want to make sure that's in good, decent quality. The battery, you want to make sure they have a decent battery on there. This one's got a Power Master maintenance-free battery. It's doing the job so far, but eventually I will be replacing this with a OEM Lexus battery. The engine takes 7.2 quarts of oil. That includes the filter as well, so a total of 7.2 quarts. It takes Toyota red antifreeze. They switched over to the pink stuff in 2003, so if you pick up a 2003, you'll have pink. Prior to 2003, it's red. This is your suspension fluid. You can see I still have the marks from when I did my flush. The fluid should be pink, light pink, red. It should not be green, it should not be black. That is a sign of contamination, a sign that the fluid is extremely worn. These are your AC lines. You want to make sure they're intact. You want to make sure the AC works, everything works. Make sure there's no leaks or any issues pertaining to the AC. If you're going to do a thorough inspection, I suggest you bring a 10 millimeter deep socket, a shallow socket, and a ratchet. You do the four bolts on top of this engine cover, you take it off and just inspect for leaks. You also have your timing belt cover right there. It's right behind this cooling hose. It's that black cap right there. It has 5 10 millimeter bolts. You can easily access them with a short extension, a deep 10 millimeter, a short 10 millimeter. You can pull that cap off and just take a look at the timing belt and the overall condition. That way you have an idea of how much time you have before you want to replace it. Never take the owner's word for it unless there's a record that it was done. Aside from that, you want to make sure the suspension works, cycle it up and down, drive it down a road, hit some bumps, small bumps, big bumps, light bumps, and make sure that the car handles the bumps well. And that's really everything you need to worry down there. If we get under the vehicle, you want to check your CD boots, make sure they're okay. Your tires, make sure that they have good tread. Wheels are in decent shape. Running boards, you want to look out for rust on the frame of the vehicle. So make sure all along the bottom of the car there's no major rust. Typically these things tend to rust out right here, right by the latch. They tend to rust out big time right there. As you can see, it's beginning slightly, but it's not horribly offensive. These cars were equipped with a third row. Got my cooler back there because we did take a short trip. I want to make sure the third row is there. If it's not, obviously you want to factor that in. You might be able to pick up a set of third row seats for anywhere between $250 to $400, depending on the condition, the color, and where you are located. Tow hitch, about 99.99% of these came with the tow hitch. Make sure it's not carotted to the point where it's jeopardized. And that's really about it. These things are dead reliable. On the inside, you want to make sure everything works. That includes the center diff, the hazards, the radio. If you have nav, the navigation works, although it's completely outdated and essentially obsolete. You want to make sure that it works. Radio works. Your antenna moves up. I don't want to get demonetized, even though I'm not monetized. Heated seats, your suspension control. You want to make sure that the car goes up and down. You have comfort, sport, all that jazz. You want to make sure that works. Obviously, if your globes are shot, it's going to bounce up and down the road. This particular model has 216,873 miles. You want to bring a OBD scanner and just make sure that all the monitors pass. There's no failure of oxygen sensors. There's no pending codes, etc. Windows, you want to make sure they all work. Mirrors, you want to make sure they're able to fold, as well as the rear windows. They do open up. As you can see, your mirrors fold. This car is equipped with overdrive. Make sure you can cycle that, and it shows on the dash. Let's see, sunroof. These all came with a sunroof. You want to make sure that opens up. You want to make sure the seats move forward and back, up and down. The seat positions, the way you set them is you hold the set button and then you press the secondary button that you want to set, and that'll make a beep as such. That means that position is set. Now if I move my seat and press it, it'll move. If you have, the car has to be in park and your foot has to be on the brake in order for the seat to move. If your foot is on the brake and the car is in park, the seat will not move. So that's just something to take into consideration. You want to make sure the rear climate controls work. So that button activates the rear, and then the rear climate is right up there. You want to go back there and make sure that works. Other than that, guys, that's about it. So I picked this up. I'm going to put some work into it. I'll make a couple of videos about replacing the globes, because I noticed that on YouTube there's really nobody that goes in depth as to replacing these globes, and it's a extremely simple process. It's essentially bleeding the system, and then once the fluid is out of the globes, you just unscrew them. It's a 36mm wrench. Make sure that you completely blood the globes before you unscrew them, because they are under a tremendous amount of pressure, and if there is any pressure left inside the globes, they will shoot off. I've read on the forums that somebody had it shoot off as he was unscrewing it. That could strip the threads on the pump that they're mounted to, and cause you even more trouble. So just open that bleed, put a hose on it so you don't make a mess on the nipple. Open up that bleed screw and completely open it all the way until nothing comes out, and do that for all 5 corners, starting with the rear passenger, rear driver, and then driver's accumulator, which is the pump between the front driver and the rear driver. It's a cylinder. Then you move on to the passenger front, driver front, and the car will settle down to the bump stops. Just so you know, it will drop down. It should not crush your head. You should have enough space to still bleed the front and do what you need to do. So once that's completely bled, open up all the valves, make sure they're completely empty, and then once they're completely empty, they're not draining anymore, go back, close them up, and then begin to do the globes. That's all. Just wanted to give you guys an update, helping me out. All it takes is a like, drop a comment telling me how awesome this video was or how redundant it was, and that I need to upload more silly content. That's it. Thanks for watching.